A businessman's troubles. Jimi Wanjigi's latest clash with the law. Jimi Wanjigi, a prominent Kenyan businessman, found himself at the center of a major police operation. On the evening of August 8, 2024, his home in Nairobi's Muthaiga neighborhood was surrounded by officers. Witnesses reported seeing a vehicle quickly enter Wanjigi's compound, raising suspicions. The police responded swiftly, cordoning off the area and launching an immediate search. The sight of heavily armed officers and police vehicles outside Wanjigi's residence sent shockwaves through the nation. Photos and videos of the raid quickly circulated on social media. The incident sparked intense speculation and debate. What had transpired to warrant such a dramatic show of force? Jimi Wanjigi is no stranger to controversy. A wealthy businessman with political ambitions, he has been a vocal critic of the Kenyan government. This latest raid on his home further fueled suspicions of a political motive. Was this a legitimate law enforcement operation or a targeted attack on a government critic? As the situation unfolded, journalists and onlookers gathered near Wanjigi's home, eager for answers. The nation held its breath, waiting for an explanation. The raid on Jimi Wanjigi's home was just the beginning of a story that would grip the nation. Jimi Wanjigi vehemently denied the allegations against him, dismissing them as completely baseless.
This is nothing but harassment and intimidation. They are trying to silence me because I dare to speak truth to power. They are afraid of my political ambitions.
In a fiery statement released shortly after the raid, he accused the government of orchestrating a political witch hunt. He claimed the raid was conducted without a warrant and constituted an abuse of power.
They are afraid of my political ambitions.
Wanjigi's lawyer echoed these sentiments, stating that they would fight the allegations vigorously in court. This was not the first time Wanjigi had found himself on the wrong side of the law. He had a history of run-ins with authorities dating back several years. In 2017, his home was raided by a heavily armed police unit, allegedly in search of illegal firearms. No charges were ever brought against him in connection with that incident. Wanjigi and his supporters pointed to these past incidents as evidence of a pattern of harassment. They argued that the timing of the latest raid, coming shortly after the Nane protests, was no coincidence. The government, they claimed, was trying to silence a critic who threatened their grip on power. Section 4. Echoes of the Past. A history of raids and allegations. The raid on Jimi Wanjigi's home in August 2024 was not an isolated incident. It was the latest in a series of confrontations between Wanjigi and the Kenyan authorities. These incidents, spanning several years, raised questions about the government's respect for the rule of law and the rights of its citizens. In January 2022, Wanjigi's home was again raided by police. As in previous incidents, no charges were ever filed against him. These repeated raids, conducted with great fanfare but yielding no concrete evidence of wrongdoing, fueled suspicions that Wanjigi was being targeted for his political views. Wanjigi's supporters argued that the government was using the police and other state agencies to harass and intimidate him. They claimed that the constant threat of raids and investigations was designed to distract him from his business and political activities. The repeated targeting of Jimi Wanjigi raised concerns about the state of democracy in Kenya. Was the government using its power to silence dissenting voices? Was this a sign of authoritarianism creeping into Kenyan society? These were questions that troubled many observers. Section 5. Public divided reactions to the raid on Wanjigi's home. The news of the raid on Jimi Wanjigi's home sent shockwaves through Kenyan society. Public opinion was sharply divided, reflecting the deep political divisions within the country. The incident ignited a fierce debate about police power political freedom, and the rule of law. Supporters of the government applauded the police action, arguing that they were right to investigate anyone suspected of funding illegal activities. They pointed to the need to maintain law and order, particularly in the wake of the disruptive Nain Nain protests. Critics, however, condemned the raid as a blatant abuse of power. They saw it as part of a broader pattern of harassment and intimidation targeting government opponents. They accused the government of weaponizing the police to silence dissent and consolidate its power. Social media platforms became battlegrounds for competing narratives. Hashtags like #Wanjigi targeted and #Law and Order trended nationwide. The raid on Jimi Wanjigi's home had become a lightning rod for wider anxieties about the state of Kenyan democracy.
I remember the day vividly. The tension in the air was palpable. People were arguing, debating, and it felt like the whole country was watching. It was more than just a raid. It was a symbol of something much bigger.